Hi, my name is Stephen McGee and I'm the author of Health Forensics. And we're here to review this experiment. Now, the plant on the left is wearing a lady's crinoline that was popular in the 1800s during the female hysteria epidemic that plagued women of that time. And the plant on the right is a grounded plant to an 8-foot non-electrified ground rod in my back garden. And the thing I want you to note is that the plants are very, very similar. And we're going to look into why that is. So it's actually January 2016 right now. So you can see that this crinoline plant dates back to March 2014. And this is what it's looking like. So it's just recently dropped a lot of its leaves. But the leaves that it did have were little tiny leaves like this, and they're very glossy. You catch the light on them, you can see that they reflect the light. Now that's very typical of a radio frequency exposed Dieffenbachia leaf, and people looking at this will say that's not a Dieffenbachia. Well, it is a Dieffenbachia. It's a radio frequency exposed Dieffenbachia, and the Dieffenbachia typically has leaves the size of your hand. So our leaves have really shrunk down, and it's also lost all of its patterning. So there's our Dieffenbachia after exposure to our crinoline. So the crinoline is actually acting as a radio frequency antenna system, and through its copper constriction in contact with the plant is feeding radio frequencies into the plant and is causing the plant to deform. So why does this one look the same? So again, this one was doing quite well up until recently. It dropped a lot of its leaves just recently, and it's been putting up these miniature leaves. And again, the Dieffenbachia is supposed to have leaves the size of your hand with heavy patterning, and we don't see that happening here. This one seems to be doing a little bit better. The exposure on this one seems to be less severe because the leaves seem to be a little bit bigger and they're not as glossy. So you're probably wondering how this plant is getting radio frequency exposure through a non-electrified ground rod that's in my back garden. Well, what you can't see is how long this cable was. This cable connecting this plant into the ground rod was about 30 foot long. And what actually happens when you connect a long cable to an 8-foot ground rod is you make an antenna system. So the electrical ground is there at the ground rod, but 30 feet away is a whole bunch of radio frequencies on this cable. And as you can see, the cable goes into the pot, electrifies the entire pot, and in turn electrifies the plant with all the radio frequencies that are on that cable. And this experiment was done in a home that has extensive radio frequencies propagating through it from 3 very tall antenna towers in the area, and transmitting utility meters throughout the community, and also a microwave sensor in the living room. And this experiment was actually conducted in the living room. So, as you can see, we've got 2 very, very unhealthy Dieffenbachia plants. And the interesting thing is this is actually older, it dates back to 2012. It's actually one of the oldest plants I have in the home that is still alive. So, that is radio frequency exposure in the Dieffenbachia. Hope you enjoyed the presentation, and I wish you the very best of health. Thank you.